Hey there everyone, I have a few different topics that I wanted to mention in a video, and I thought actually I'll just group them all together into one. So in this video, what I'm going to go through first of all is the new dungeon items, well, old dungeon items that have been brought back. I'm also then going to go through some changes to some skill runes, and also pet damage in general. And then I'm going to finish up with some raid boss tips. Not actually playing through it. This video's mostly going to be talking. Just be talking about these different topics. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go through. We're going to start with the dungeon items. So there are some old dungeon items which have returned, and if we look in the dungeon lockboxes anyway, there've been a few changes. They now say the range for their stats. So you can see here the Ravenous Wand. It says 12 to 15% move speed. Same on the boots, 12 to 15%. Didn't used to say this, and then now it says like additional random stat on it. Now, I think it's just the last set which actually has stats on it. All the other ones just have... oh, no, sorry, I'm confusing myself. In the daily dungeon is what I mean. All these ones have additional random stats. It's only in the last dungeon set where in the daily dungeon it still has some stats on it. Anyway, the main interest of this is that now some old items which had higher move speed that were removed from the game are now back in the game. There are a few to mention, and yeah, I've actually got them all listed in my move speed guide. This is on the forum here, and I plan to rewrite this. I think I've said this is the third video now where I've said that. I'm going to rewrite this to make it a little bit easier, like giving people what they want. But yeah, anyway, basically, categorize it by class. So here in the Archer class, if you look at the listings here of the different things, you've got the Ravenous Quiver, Ravenous Boots, the different, all the different bits which can give you move speed of the items. And yeah, so I noticed how in the daily dungeon it was possible to get this Night Stalker cape. That was something I found out later on. But now what you're looking for is that the bits that say no longer in the game except in shop, they are now back in the game. So most noticeably, this Wolfstrider cape with 15% move speed on is incredible, and is one of the things which the old archers really had a benefit from. It's now back in the game, so that is the best cape to get for farming as an archer. And yeah, you can also get the Crimson Falcon chest, which comes with a bit more move speed. I need to actually check that, double check I've got the right range there, because this was all kind of from finding out from other people, because I don't have the items myself. Anyway, so for archers, clearly, if you get these two items, you can increase your move speed, the cape by a considerable amount, and then the chest piece. If you look at Knight here, there are the Foot Powder Hades, which are 15% guaranteed move speed, compared to the Ravenous Boots, which are 12 to 15%. So probably you can grab this now, and that will give you a little bit more move speed. It's certainly a lot easier than trying to get a good Ravenous Boots. Now you can just grab this and you're guaranteed the best. And yeah, for the Wizard, you've got that same again with the Cerberus Boots, guaranteed 15% as opposed to the Ravenous ones. And then you've also got the Ivory Griffin's cape, which gives a bit more. Malevolence chest, I think that was always in the game, but it now says the range is up to 5.8%, so that's a good chest to grab. And then yeah, the Ivory Griffin's cape, the previous best was 5%, so now you can get another 2.2. So yeah, overall, little boost to the Wizard, not really any boost to the Knight, and then a huge boost to the Archers. So that's great for archers out there trying to get move speed. And yeah, if you couldn't get the ones which were there before, if you weren't around in the game, then it's great you can have them back. So yeah, that was everything I wanted to say about the dungeon items. I think it's very important that everyone knows this. It's been out for about a week, well, a few days now. I'm a little bit late on making this video. That's because I wanted to bring the other topics in. So, on to the next topic. Next thing I'm going to say is some skill rune changes. Actually, no, pet damage. Okay, so pet damage, I wrote in my skill runes guide, and I actually created a video that went through all of pet damage, explaining it all. I'm going to have to completely redo that because quite a few things have changed. And yeah, the main thing being, pet damage is now half what it used to be. So where I was saying in this, how it basically 100% pet damage is the same as a basic attack critical hit if you had the right stats for that difficulty of content. So if you look on the event board, when it says on Platinum difficulty, suggested power 39,300, if you had 39,300 power and the kind of the stats that come with that, then your basic attacks would be hitting, when they crit, the same amount as 100% pet damage. That's not the case anymore. Now pet damage hits half that. So 100% pet damage will hit half what you would expect a basic attack critical hit to hit. So I hope you follow that in words. I will put it up in writing. I need to change this bit of text here. But yeah, so rather than, so in my scoring's guide, a basic attack hits 750,000. That's what I'm sort of calling it. And all the other damage comes from that, so you can kind of compare it to basic attack. Now pet damage will be 375,000. I've gone through and I've changed all the skills so they now reflect this. So Drake's now hit quite a bit less, and yeah, I've gone through Mana Storm as well. Mana Storm, I noted how, because it hit 8 times rather than the 5 you'd expect, it actually hit really hard, like did a ton of damage. Because it was over an area, that was actually a brilliant killer. But now, because it's half the damage, it's kind of more in line with what it should be. Really, it was actually an unintentional thing. There was some error in the numbers, and that's why they're coming out high. So they've now corrected it, and that's why it's now half the damage. Anyway, so that's how pet damage has changed. It's just basically does half the amount it used to, and yeah, the scoring changes. They've made some significant scoring changes to the most recent scorings that I made a video for. I'm not sure if it made, yeah, so they made one change on the Archer. I'll show you that now. So on the Archer one, Falconer, I said this Divine Companion, I said it was completely pointless, like absolutely rubbish, and it still isn't very good. But they buffed it in a slight way. So the damage output there, the base skill itself does 190% pet damage. So adding on top of that is 20% pet damage. That's light element, and also 3,000. That 3,000 doesn't crit, so it's very small. And then the 20%, that's really only like increasing the damage output by 10%. So yeah, this isn't for damage output. What it is for that healing effect, which is 5,000 health every time it attacks, which works out as quite small. So to be honest, it's not that great. But they did buff that to 5,000 from the previous amount that it was. And yeah, that's the real change on Archer class. On Wizards, they changed quite a bit. So I mentioned in the video, I noticed how they changed the fear to stun on Radiant Light, which is very cool. And then the main effect, the main change was Empowered Frostdrake. So I went on in my video about how this was really quite annoying, because it showed people got confused by the scoring. They thought it was amazing because they're like, oh, Frostdrake, it's been asked for, it's the most asked for scoring in the game, and it's come back, and then it's not the power that it should be. So what the main benefit of Frostdrake is its combination with Master of Ice. So the Drakes were really powerful because the base damage was water. Now I changed my scorings guide. The base damage, I said it was 300% before. I think I actually mentioned it as 350% in the video. So yeah, I've changed it. It is actually 350%. I'm pretty sure it's that amount. I've done some vigorous testing. So yeah, 350%. That of course is now halved, so it's not quite so powerful. However, yeah, if you look at Frostdrake here, it changes the base damage to water. So when you get to 100%, then it does double the damage, and then if you have Master of Ice, it would actually be doing triple the damage. Now the Empowered Frostdrake, it didn't change the base damage to water, so it was quite disappointing, because a lot of people thought that it would be doing loads of damage, however it wasn't. And so yeah, after I kind of mentioned that, and so its only real use was for the slow effect and the Ice Spike, because that's kind of useful in farming. Yeah, they actually changed it, so now the base damage does do water. I was going to show it, but I don't want this video to drag on. So yeah, the base damage is water, just take me on that. And not only that, the bonus on this, the bonus damage, was plus 20% frost, I think. Well, I should be reading as water. I don't know why it says frost, but anyway, it was 20%, I think, and they've now changed that to 100%. So it looks incredible. However, do keep in mind that's 100% compared to the 350%. So actually, overall, the damage output is good. It's a nice increase, but you can see here it's like a 20%, 25% increase ish, a little bit more compared to the standard Frostdrake. So if you do have the Frostdrake skill rune, then Empower Frostdrake can make it more powerful. Personally, I will level this up if I have nothing else to level, but because I've already got a really powerful kind of way of making my drakes really powerful with normal Frostdrake, this isn't so important. But yeah, it is flat out better than the standard Frostdrake, which is very nice, and I'm glad they did do that. So yeah, that's the changes made there. That's pretty much everything I wanted to mention on the skill runes front. Other than the new skill runes coming, I've tested out. Forgot I can't scroll down. I've tested out the new empowered Frozen Sphere and the other new empowered skill runes coming out. I have the impression that they're going to make some changes before they're released. Like with the skill runes, which I previewed previously, like I said, they've made some changes. And so yeah, with these new ones coming, I think they're going to make some alterations before they come out. So I'm not going to preview them until I'm certain that they are how they will finally be. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to say there. Now to talk about boss raids quickly, I'm going to try and do this as briefly as possible. My technique as a wizard, all of it is focused on damage per second. However, you need to distract the boss as well because it will kill you. So Frostdrake is a must. However, all pet damage is tiny, so really drakes aren't going to be doing anything. So you only want to keep one out at any one time ready. Oh, a dragon can be a good distraction as well, but dragons die quickly. So as for damage output, I find Empowered Fire Blast is great for spamming. Flame Cannon as well. Those two are definite musts. And then I go for the combination of Water Beam here, since it changes the base damage to water, and Master of Ice. If you have Master of Ice maxed, it's incredibly useful. And if you don't have a high fire stat, Fire Blast and Flame Cannon won't be doing so much. But Master of Ice and Water Beam will. So focus on using Water Beam whenever it comes off cooldown, and then otherwise the other two. However, because my fire's higher, I kind of focus more on Flame Cannon, and then I get Water Beam in when I can, and otherwise all other times spam Fire Blast. So that's my technique, and yeah, it works pretty well. You may do something slightly different. I'm going to try and do a video where I go into think more details and talk about them there, but for now it's just quick tips. So for archers, you want to go with the basic attack build. Decoy, of course, again, only pop it out when you actually need to. You don't want to be spamming that too much. Definitely use Sniper. Sniper's an absolute must, and Mark of Death. I don't really want to talk about skill runes there because I don't know them that well, but yeah, skill runes on those two skills. Also, Barbed Arrows. I'm not sure which one is the better one for actual damage output, because that changes the base damage, like the damage dealt to nature, whereas this doesn't change it. It keeps it as standard element, I think. But anyway, use Barbed Arrows. So those three buffs, Decoy to distract it, and as for the fifth skill, I saw some people using Ballista. Ballista I wouldn't use because pet damage is tiny. Really want to look for something good here, and I would choose Empowered Rapid Fire, just because that's the only thing which really breaches your DPS. Because with your basic attacks, when you've got these buffs on, you're doing so much damage just from your basic attacks that any of these other skills would actually slow you down. So Empowered Rapid Fire is really only up there as enough damage to actually increase your damage per second. Pierce, I've seen some people use this. I wouldn't really bother because the damage output's quite small, but you could definitely put that on right at the beginning, just before you go into combat. So yeah, that's the Arch one. Now we're going to talk about the Knight one in a second. Unfortunately, I ran out of recording time, But yeah, we're back now, and onto the Knights one. So the Knights one, I'm a little bit more, a little fuzzy on. I don't, well, I do know Knights quite well, but I don't really know the setups and stuff that people like to play with. And also here, there's no like exact way to do it. I mean, with archers, you have the basic attack build. With wizards, you have a few particular skills that are good for single targets. For a knight, really all it revolves around is Wild Swing. Wild Swing is going to be your biggest damage output. For that, I can say for sure. It's crazily good, just ridiculously good. And yeah, just to explain it quickly, you've got the attack damage here about 185%, and then the nature on top. You can equate this 10,000 to about, we're going to call it 25% because you're going to be using a damage potion. So yeah, imagine that's about 25%, and what this will then do is call it 115% nature damage. So add that onto the 185, you have the Wild Swing hitting 300%, except, of course, this swings twice, so it's actually 600%. Now, that's about 6 basic attacks every time you use this, and the cooldown is 2 seconds, so with a cooldown pot, you're using this more than once per second. Yeah, really, this is what your focus is going to be around, is just using Wild Swing over and over. Normally, this skill has a bit of a problem sometimes hitting the second swing, but because this boss is big and it's not going to get knocked back at all, yeah, you're going to be using this and doing a lot of damage. It's actually more powerful than Maim, because if we look at Maim for a second, both Flowing Blades and Empowered Fireblade actually do the same overall damage. What it is it does the base damage as no element, which hits about 3 basic attacks, and then the damage on top of that with the Skurun is, what's it equate to? It's around about 200%, or maybe about 200%, somewhere between 200 and 250%. So in total, the 3 plus the 2.5, that's going to be hitting around about 5, or a little bit over 5 basic attacks, which in comparison to the 6 from Wild Swing is less. So yeah, Wild Swing is going to be your biggest damage output. However, you can sneak in a Maim between 2 Wild Swings and increase your damage per second. So those 2 skills are probably all you really need for the damage output. And just to say, between Flowing Blades and Empowered Fireblade, I know that most people have Empowered Fireblade maxed, and I don't know about Flowing Blades, whether they bothered with that. But yeah, the reason why I really like Flowing Blades is because that damage, which is water, added on, can be increased by Lord of Winter, so it can be tripled, which turns Flowing Blades into more of a killer than Empowered Fireblade. The only problem is that Lord of Winter can't be on that much, so yeah, you probably have higher fire stats, which means that Empowered Fireblade would be better, kind of the majority of the time. But anyway, so you want those 2 skills for the damage output, and then you'll want some defense. Spikes is definitely a good one to put on right at the beginning. I'd use Ember Glow probably. That lasts 60 seconds, and the fight is 60 seconds. So yeah, just put that on before you go out there. And then yeah, also dual wield. Make sure you dual wield for a start. Then we look at the other ones, and it gets a little bit more complicated. Now, Protector here is a good one for survival. Definitely one which you could use. And then another great one, but one problem I have with this is the cooldown. Although actually no, that's going to be on most of the time with a cooldown pot. And then you've got Holy Shield here. Now, Shield of Light's actually my favourite one here out of the 2, because it doesn't show this, I don't think, until you actually get it. Yeah, I'm just going to look quickly at the thing here. It does say EV max. So it says 0.4. What it actually means is a 40% damage reduction for 5 seconds after it finishes, which is very cool. And yeah, so it adds a little shield on top, bit of damage, and then when it explodes, you then have the 40% damage reduction for 5 seconds. Because of the cooldown, yeah, that's going to be fairly good, really. Almost constant 40% damage reduction. So the 2 of those can actually be used together to create very, very solid defense, which you could do those 2 instead of Angelic Form. Probably the 2 of them together would be very good, and because they are they're kind of they're looping around to almost meet their cooldown again. There's only going to be very small times when you're actually not when you can be hurt a lot. Anyway, so those two are great for defense. Otherwise, Angelic Form can be brilliant, especially with Lord of Winter, if you're using Flame Blades. But yeah, I'm not really sure if that's worth it. I mean, the cooldown on it's really long, and even though it lasts 7 seconds, I just don't really know what it's like for people to face the boss. But obviously, those are your 3 best defense skills, and personally, I'd probably go for the combination of these 2. But if I was struggling to survive, I'd want Angelic Form there. And so yeah, those 2 damage skills. These maybe up to 3 defense skills. You could use all 3. That's one thing I was thinking of suggesting. And then as your 5th skill, I would probably go with Charge here, because, for example, this first boss we faced, it likes to charge around itself, and that means it's really far from you and you can't attack it when it's far away. So you want to close that distance as quickly as possible to not waste any time. So yeah, Empowered Meteor Dash is the most powerful one if you have it maxed, because of that fire pool doing a lot more damage. And if the boss is going to sit still, which it probably will, it will sit in the fire pool. So yeah, if in an ultimate build, when I'm strong enough to survive and stuff, I would use these 2 skills to survive, and then these 3 skills for attacking. I'd only use the Charge for closing in if the boss escapes, and then these 2 I'd be spamming Wild Swing as much as possible, and then like Empowered Fire Blade in between whenever there's a break, and that's off cooldown, because it's actually got a very nice 5-second cooldown, which with a cooldown bot's only going to be like 2 seconds. So yeah, you can probably use, you know, Wild Swing that over and over and over. That's probably your best damage per second. I had a look at Burning Aura, but I don't think really that's worth it, because it only lasts a few seconds, like 3 seconds or so, and the cooldown's nice and short. But yeah, as it's only lasting 3 seconds, the damage output on it probably isn't going to be worth it compared to using one of these 2. But it might actually be better in some ways to maim, I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's what I can advise to knights, and I hope that was a little bit more in depth there for the knight, just because I think there's a few options and I'm not totally sure on what's good to do. But yeah, just to mention about what to actually do on a whole in general in boss raids. Obviously you want to use potions, so you want to use, I just use a 2-minute one of damage, cooldown reduction, and mana. And then dodge, not important at all, really. And then when you go in there, start by using any little buffs, like, you know, the spikes, or I said for pierce on archers. And then bring in a dragon, probably your best dragon. But really, until the dragons are revamped, which is what I'm waiting for until I do my proper video on it, they currently don't do much damage at all, and they die really quickly. So the only dragons I'd really look at using are, I've got to find them now. It's going to be a problem. The only dragons I'd really use are Aurelian for the damage and healing buff. Healing not really important, but the damage is good. It increases your damage by about 20-30%, something like that. So yeah, that's good. And then Avalanche, because he can increase your water as well as movement speed. But yeah, increases your water damage. It's actually your stat by 50%, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that increases your any skills you're using with the water. And then Ignis does the same, but for fire. So yeah, that's quite cool. Only problem with him is he's actually a tank dragon, so he'll go next to the boss and die. But yeah, those are the 3 dragons I'm using for now, until they get properly revamped. And then I would say go with damage ones. And as for fighting the boss, do it as quickly as possible, keep bashing away. And there are actually some potions which can be used to stop it, which Smoke Bomb actually is overpowered. It means you can fight for 10 more seconds, and the boss doesn't even move, so it stands still, which is, yeah, brilliant. So yeah, have a look at your consumables and see if there's anything you can do there. I can't think of anything else right now, other than, you know, potions, dragons. But yeah, all of it's about damage per second, and you really want to, yeah, focus on getting off your skills and all that kind of stuff. make sure you don't get attacked as a wizard and archer by carefully placing your decoys. And yeah, actually, one thing to say about decoys, it was actually a problem I had with the current boss, putting down my frost drakes. When he charged away, I lost time because I had to run after him. And I thought about it, actually, if I put a frost drake between him and a wall, then if he did charge, maybe he'd just charge into the wall and stop there. That could have been something quite useful to do. So always put it like kind of against a wall, so then he'll stay against the wall. So yeah, bear that in mind in the future if there are other ones which are going to charge around. But yeah, that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll be doing that pet damage explained video all over again. Hopefully can bring it down to about 20 minutes. I don't want to go any more than that. But yeah, we'll be doing that. Dragon previews, PvP stuff. I'll see what comes. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, and good luck getting those dungeon items, and doing lots of damage in boss raids. See you then.